I fucking hate Halo. I didn't used to. In fact, it was my favourite franchise to play. I played through all of them multiple times, finding all secrets and glitches. I ran many LANs just for Halo, and our TVs back then had trouble fitting into the boot of our cars, but we all struggled carrying our stuff just for the love of the game. I absorbed all information about Halo from the internet, eagerly watching trailers, watching Red vs. Blue, which was also done on dial-up, so I had to leave my PC on all night downloading. I bought collector's editions, art books, even ordered in a blue flame shirt. Doesn't sound like much, but postage to Australia is like $50. I even went and got Halo Fleet Battles, and that game was discontinued in like a year. Even to this day, I still dream about playing in new Halo levels or playing the multiplayer. An important game, Halo was pretty much the last time I really played video games with my siblings. I remember 2-player with my younger brother and beating Assault on the control room before calling it a night. I woke up the next morning to see him fighting the Flood and forcing him to restart the mission so that I could experience the same. I read every detail about Halo 2 up to its release date. It was the first game I pre-ordered with my own money. There was also this stupid quote-unquote reality TV show happening at the same time, and the people in there were given Halo 2 weeks in advance. I just remember how pissed I was at them. This game also came out around the same time exams were going on for me in high school, so my concentration was all over the place. Thankfully, I only had one exam in the morning and managed to get my mum to drive me to pick up the game. Then sit in the car for an hour with nothing but the manual and highly energetic contempt for having to wait longer. I had only been playing the game for a couple of levels before my brother got home and was shocked to learn Halo 2 existed. Then he forced me to start the game again in co-op. Payback, I suppose. But after a couple of levels, he kinda got bored and left to go kick the footy. This was around the time he started to grow out of games, and this game was pretty much the last time I ever bonded with him. As the years went on, there was also a lot of negative to the franchise. After loving it for so long, I reached a point where I just didn't want anything to do with it anymore, and left. The blame mostly rests on the community, although 343 wasn't exactly enticing me to stay. First problem was Halo 2. I didn't like the new direction. They dumbed everything down, like removing health. Unbeknownst to me, this also brought in a new audience who would end up becoming a problem to Halo. Bungie had some trouble figuring out how to design a game for two audiences. Around this time, we discovered the miracle of lag switching, where the host would flick a switch to prevent other players from playing, and they would just kill them uncontested. Really just paints it in a terrible light. I know you can't really complain about trolling like that, but it sucks that there's just a large number of people who would easily fall for something so simple. Even though they patched it, during a time where patching games didn't exist, these guys never left and just waited around to do it decades later. There are just so many people out there who only get enjoyment from just burning down everything around them, even if it costs the life of the video game. Ruining people's fun is fun for some people. The first time I saw the spirit and heart of the community was when they released the extra maps for Halo 2. This was before everything was DLC, so you had to actually get the discs to install the new stuff onto your console or PC. I had no idea why, but for some reason the Halo 2 map pack was released like 3 weeks early in Australia. This caused a lot of people over in America to get really upset. Like, really upset. They were all over the forums screaming to Australians that if they installed the maps, they would be recognised as elite hackers by Microsoft because they had access to something before the official release date, claiming we would be permanently banned from Xbox Live and be chased by the police. Bungie actually had to make a public post saying that no such thing would happen. I know it's really easy to scoff at such immature behaviour, but just think about that for a second. Some people were so pissed off that someone else would enjoy something before they would, that they would try to scare them into not enjoying it until they could. There was also the issue with BXR, something still defended to this day. I did run Halo 2 LANs, but despite all our initial excitement and constant talk about the game at school, We all kinda moved back to Halo 1 for multiplayer, especially when we discovered how stupid using the plasma pistol and battle rifle was. Halo 3 started coming out, and that's when gaming started to change. Soon after, gaming started to design games for non-gamers and more for the worst kind of person. So now Halo had a third audience to contend with. Although thankfully, this third audience started to get pulled away by Call of Duty, but the damage was still done. Despite my love for Halo, I didn't actually get to play Halo 3 at release. I went with my friends to the Halo 3 midnight launch, but I didn't get to play the game, because at the time I had no job, no money, and no Xbox 360. So I had to go home knowing my friends were playing it, and learned later that they didn't even play it when they got home, they went to sleep. I did eventually play it, almost a full year later. Man, I thought that car ride was rough. That year was brutal. I still didn't like the changes Halo 2 made, but Halo 3 was much better. Even then the community was still bad. One problem was that pretty soon some professional players, some top shit hardcore players, pretty soon they discovered something. When searching for a match, you could turn on Good Connection, a godsend to anybody living outside America. Without options to search within your area, even with servers, you would get in a match in US territory, which made these games a lag-filled mess for Australians. So many developers never even bothered to include this option. So, some US players would group up in a team, with one of them having created a new account that listed Australia as his area of residence. He would be the group leader and search with Good Connection on. This caused the matchmaking to put only Australian players on the other team, while these players would get the host advantage. It would be a lag-filled mess for the Aussie players while they get easy kills. Cause nothing says professionalism like an unfair fight. There was also the level 50 problem. The most professional gamers discovered how they can easily game the system and get to competitive rank 50 in just a few hours. At which point they would sell their accounts to some kid for a few $100 and start all over again. Top rank in Halo meant nothing. Halo Wars came out and I loved that game, despite how poorly balanced it was. ODST came out and I loved that game. I thought Firefight would be awesome to play with friends. I turned up to the LAN just to play it. Then I discovered I was the fifth wheel in the game. So I patiently waited until it was my turn. After about 10 minutes, they kinda got bored and decided to get me to drive them to a bottle-o and spend the whole night drinking. Actually, around this time was when people stopped being interested in LAN plays altogether. I would still run LANs, but instead of playing Halo 3 on LAN, they would just use my internet to try and get the online achievements. If we did, it was usually gang up on me, game types for some reason. For like 10 minutes, then they get kinda bored and have me drive them to the bottle-o. There was also the LAN where it was supposed to be a 4-day weekend, but the self-proclaimed alpha of the group called us to sleep for the night after only 6 hours. I thought he just didn't want to go all night during the weekend, but in the morning he ordered us to pack up and end the LAN. Was there an emergency? No, turned out there was a girl he wanted to bang. And then there was a time where the guy who hated my guts, hated Halo, hated Microsoft and hated the Xbox, asked me if he could come over for a LAN he heard I was running. I said, sure, but he was very standoffish during the night. Turns out he only wanted to join because he heard the hot girl he wanted to bang was going to my LAN, and he was hoping he could bang her at my house. Kinda explained why he was really moody when I received a text from her during the LAN that she had family business and couldn't visit. I could make a 20-minute video just about her. Huh. Come to think of it, were any of those Xbox LANs actually fun? Then Halo Reach came out. Now this is when community toxicity switched to maximum overdrive. Communication about Halo started to become worse. People were screaming and fighting, demanding blood. Everybody's opinions became the same. Do everything I say and make everybody else shut up. This game was Bungie's swan song. They already had one foot out the door to move on to something incredibly boring. So changes to the game and patches became extremely limited, which makes sense. They didn't want to make any wild changes that could have had really bad consequences that they wouldn't be able to fix because, you know, they were halfway through moving. There was also another problem around this time. Okay, nowadays, games are regularly patched, with gigabytes worth of updates as early as day one and patches that take up an entire console's hard drive. There's a lot of criticisms over this. But back then, they just didn't exist. PCs didn't really start getting patches until the 2000s, while consoles just didn't get patches. The 360 and PS3 era was when patches started to come to consoles, but even then it was really limited. Developers had to pay something like $40,000 per patch on console. No reason really, Microsoft and Sony just wanted money. That meant that if a developer actually wanted to patch their game, they would try to do it all together at once. Any patches past the first one was extremely rare, mostly because developers just didn't have the cash, and their publishers saw no profit in paying for it. When we switched to the PS4 and Xbox era, and publishers wanted consistently updated games to induce a fear of missing out, was when Microsoft and Sony decided to stop charging for patches. This is why Reach never really got a patch. Bungie just didn't want to pay for a patch for a game that they were leaving. What sucks is by how the game's coding was set up is that you could create endless game types without needing a patch. I don't mean making a stupid party game, I mean making changes to current maps, weapons and game types. They did this a lot for Halo 3, but for some reason nobody wanted to do it for Reach. That's why Bungie never patched the game. In the meantime, I was on the forums where everybody was foaming at the mouth. While trying to find out how to fix the game, I had people chasing me through forums and trying to shut me down, telling 343, the new owners, to ban me and only listen to them, especially when it came to their money. See, Bungie saw all the level 50 accounts selling in Halo 3 and decided to make changes to Reach that encouraged people to keep playing and not sell their accounts, making a lot of people angry that they couldn't make a career out of selling high-ranked accounts to kids. What's hilarious is that a lot of the changes made ended up becoming the standard for other competitive games. If anything, they were ahead of the curve. Not that these people could tell. A lot of other problems turned up, although this was mostly due to toxic players. I mean actual toxic players, not people swearing. Spawn camping became common. Kill-death ratio grinding was every match. Anything broken was abused. Vehicles were never nerfed, it got worse and worse and worse. Either you follow suit, or you were forced to quit the game. Not only was all this stuff busted, but they were all also heavily defended on the forums. Like, I would make an argument why spawn camping was bad and how you could easily prevent it from happening in-game, even without a patch. I had people arguing with me and getting mad that I was trying to come up with a solution. They tried to defend spawn camping as legit skill, and if someone gets caught in a spawn camping that they have no hope of breaking out of, well, it was their fault. Every other game tried to remove spawn camping. When a new Call of Duty comes out and a video of a 50 spawn camp kill streak comes out, it would be immediately patched out. Games like Overwatch design their maps to prevent spawn camping because they know how unfair and unfun it is. Even Fortnite came up with the brilliant idea of tossing everybody out a flying bus. This was also worse in Reach because some game types made spawn camping worse, like Invasion. See, everybody can spawn in on either their designated spawn zone or their partner, which meant if your partner disconnected, you could only spawn in one position, and man did everybody do their best to take advantage of that. You would spawn getting punched in the back of the head. Essentially, you're just sitting there for 15 minutes dying and unable to play the game because if you quit, the game would punish you with a timeout. Why haven't devs developed a surrender option? Fucking hell. KD grinding became a job. Nobody wanted a fair fight. Everybody likes to say they want the perfect match, but in reality, they just want to dominate someone. They would vote for objective matches specifically because a Team Slayer match had a kill cap. They would grab the enemy's vehicles and just spawn camp them for 15 minutes. Even though they were supposed to grab the flag and take it to their base 3 times, they just sat at the team spawn shooting the same patch of grass where they knew someone would spawn. Then, one selfless soul would wait until there was exactly 1 second remaining before a draw was announced and grab the flag to run back to their base. It would put the game into sudden death, which added 30 more seconds of spawn camping, then cap it at the last second, and you know that guy wanted to spend the extra 30 seconds spawn camping. This was also defended on the forums, because it was a clear sign that the game was equal, as they had to work so hard to get just one flag capture, and it was only at the very last second. How dare I question that? I obviously just want to ruin this perfect game. Entire games were planned around spawn camping and KD boosting. More than once I would sneak in to snatch the enemy flag, make it back to my base, only to find a teammate with a shotgun ready to shoot me. Before I can make it back to the flag, he's taken it back to the other team. Because they can't allow me to end capture the flag before the timer is up. You selfish bastard, trying to win a game? In Invasion, they would spawn camp the other team. Then, magically, the other team would be able to advance to the objective point and capture it at the last second. Where did the other team go? The second phase started and they all blew up from the ambush. They would spawn to discover their vehicles, specifically their Banshee, being stolen and used to spawn camp. God, that fucking Banshee. That vehicle was fucking busted. Its Banshee bomb killed in one shot, recovered in 1 second, and had massive aim assist. The Banshee also had near infinite flips, so you could just bomb and flip the same spot on repeat until you got 100 kills. Entire strategies were designed around getting someone into the Banshee for the sole purpose of spawn camping. Did I ask for a nerf? Yes. Did people scream at me on the forums? Of course. It's not the Banshee bomb's fault that you were getting spawn camped, it's because you didn't have the legit skill to steal it from inside your own base. Fucking loser. Infection, a fun game type that was invented in Halo 2, in which it solely relied on a code of honor in order to properly play, was also a popular game type in Halo Reach. But the maps were just the normal matchmaking maps with everything removed. Players very quickly discovered that most maps had out of reach areas that humans could reach and just duck hunt the zombies. Some players managed to make maps designed specifically for infection. These maps were added to the roster, but the original empty maps were never removed. Players would all vote for the empty maps specifically so that they could jump into these out of reach areas and rack up a high KD ratio. The game type options was also poorly designed. It would gather 13 players and randomly select 3 to be zombies, 3 times for the 3 rounds. But there's no other coding on who it picks, which means it's possible for a player to be picked as a zombie 3 times in a row, a bit unlikely. It also means, at minimum, 4 players would spawn as a human for the 3 rounds, with a possibility that up to 10 players, unlikely, could be human for 3 rounds. Pointing this out on the forums attacked. How dare I remove KD farming? Your KD ratio is important. How can you be hired as a professional gamer to sell your account if your KD ratio isn't high? You need a KD ratio of 50 to be taken seriously and sell your account. That's why spawn camping is important. It's part of Halo. You can't remove spawn camping from Halo. I need to work on my ratio, brah. These players were very quick to insult and thinking they were the best, even if you destroyed them. There was this one guy who regularly played free-for-all. He would do the typical stuff, sprinting from fights he didn't start, hogging power weapons, throwing grenades to steal kills, spamming DMR shots from hidey holes, then shit-talking everybody in the game. It reached a point where I had enough of him, so I started to give him a taste of his own medicine. I started playing the game just like him, spamming DMR shots from hidey holes, hogging power weapons, sprinting away from fights I didn't start. When I reached about 20 kills close to winning, I look at his score where he was at 11. Then he rage quit. Because to these guys, they're the best. Until you beat them at their own game, then the excuses come out. So, when 343 took over, they decided to make their one patch for Reach. Man, the forums exploded in rage. People screaming on what they had to do, and make sure they ignore me. 343 decided to listen to the KD players, because the players promised them that if the patch did what they said, then all gamers around the world would return to Halo, that Call of Duty would instantly die, and Reach would have 1 million players playing at the same time. They released the patch that didn't fix weapons, vehicles, maps, or even the Juggernaut game type that was severely glitched and unplayable. Although this patch did reveal that the game had a health glitch that nobody noticed until now. Then they made a shitty voting system in the matchmaking game type, voting for either the original Reach or the patched Reach options, which most players wouldn't even know what a patch is. Plus, all those KD players admitted on the forums that they created multiple accounts for the express purpose of stuffing the ballot, voting for their patch and immediately quitting the game. How professional. What's weird is that these players had their own playlist, something that pretty much no other franchise has ever given their player base. Their own playlist where they could make their own rules, any rules that they wanted, which apparently still wasn't enough. Am I jealous? Of course! I wish I had my own playlist. You know what I do? I'd update it every week. I put in like new maps, alter existing matchmaking maps, new game types, alter matchmaking game types. They would be able to use that data to make tweaks to the normal matchmaking based on feedback. Man, there were so many bad faith arguments. You know this clip?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I despise this clip, because so many people just linked this clip whenever there was an argument to be made. This response became so common on the forums. One guy really had it out for me. I was talking with someone else about game type options. This guy, who hated Halo Reach, liked to follow me into forum threads and just kept interrupting. I made a game type for the other guy and asked for feedback. This stalker replied almost immediately, pretending he downloaded it and gave a detailed feedback on how my game type didn't work, and all his friends that tried it agreed with him. That my game type options were shit and armor abilities ruined the game, even going into detail about how the jetpack completely ruined the map flow and positioning for players, and that I would never be able to get it to work and I should just give up. Now, I knew immediately that this guy was full of shit. How did I know? Simple. He went on a huge rant about the jetpack. In the game type I made, I didn't include the jetpack. I even pointed out that people never really discussed or argued their points, just shouted and spammed that same clip. Once, a guy decided to hold me to that. He replied with a long post arguing against my position. I was so happy, finally someone smart. I made my rebuttals against all his points. His response?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
And that's how Halo Reach just kinda petered out into nothing. It got no real new updates, and the toxic players remained to make sure nobody else could enjoy the game. Then Halo 4 came out. Man, this game fucking sucked. The gameplay was so boring, the maps were boring, the story was lame, the weapons were shit, the art style was awful, ugh. But how was the multiplayer? I don't know. 343 didn't include a good connection option for the matchmaking. Games were all a lag-filled mess. It was unplayable for an Australian. The last thing I remember in that game was stepping on a man cannon, flying through the sky, rubber banding back and flying through the sky, rubber banding back and flying through the sky, hitting the ground and dying. I just turned the fucking thing off, I was done. Instead of firefight, they did Spartan Ops, and holy fucking shit was that game type so fucking boring. I didn't even finish it because I almost fell asleep. How was my experience on the forums? Well, I kept asking for local only search options because the game was unplayable. I didn't join in the discussion for anything else, I just wanted no lag. The people on the forum responded by mocking me, going to great lengths to defend the lag, explaining that if I can't pull host and get into a game where a US player is host, that's my fault because I'm so shit at the game. Playing with no lag is legit skill, and since I had lag, I had no skill. I became a regular joke because I didn't like the lag. If someone else complained about the lag, they would mock me for it. And so I went back to Reach, the broken game that was left in a worse state than when it began. All the KD bros had moved on to Halo 4. Well, actually no, since the lag was a huge issue, all players left the game and there was no one left for them to spawn camp. So they switched to Call of Duty, I guess, or stuck around in Reach to make sure the remaining players did not enjoy the franchise. Man, I really hated Halo 4. I hated it so much I stopped watching Red vs Blue when they switched to Halo 4. I hated Halo 4 so much I actually started a retrospective series on Halo. The aim was to explain why Halo was good up until I get to Halo 4 so that I could thoroughly explain why it was so bad. I made 2 episodes, they're shit, don't watch them. Why did I quit that project? Around the same time I was getting ready for work, I suddenly get a call on my mobile phone and I answer. I get this bizarre message from like a game show host with music, announcing that I had won a fabulous prize. My first thought was it was obviously a scam call, but there was something odd about it. The game show host had mentioned my name, not my real name, my gamer profile name. I hanged up confused. Soon after I get a call from the same number and I answer. Some guy called me by my gamer profile name and started mocking my views and opinions from the forums. I pissed some guy off so much that he doxed me just so that he could yell at me. What the fuck? I shrugged it off because whatever, but it didn't end there. A new website called Twitch had just started. Popular now, but back then the idea of streaming games was still new. I was just curious at one point and wanted to test it out. You know, see how it works and such. Connected my 360 and played some Halo Reach multiplayer on stream. I wasn't expecting anything, I was just testing it out. About an hour in, I get matched up with a 4 group of high ranked, high KD, spawn camping dude bros who all immediately started screaming, mocking, yelling at me while spamming my Twitch chat with nonsense and with the obvious goal of destroying me live for the crimes of giving my opinion, prompting me to just turn Twitch and my console off. And so what, right? I was streaming, I should expect that. I even once watched some pro play so that I would know when to search for a match to avoid playing against them, because avoid player option doesn't fucking work. Although that stream didn't last long because one pro player decided to flash her tits to her audience and was banned in minutes. See, she's a pro player, which means she's fucking stupid. But I had literally no audience. I had literally just created my Twitch account. Some people made sure to constantly check online to see if I was to ever make an account, and to check if I was ever streaming, specifically so that they could get their friends together to hunt me down in online games while taunting me. That's when I gave up. I don't have to deal with this shit. I've got other games to play, I've got shit to do. Why should I waste my time with this community? The franchise is almost dead, it's what they wanted. They won, nobody cares about Halo anymore. Why should I be the only guy trying to keep this franchise alive and healthy? It was never healthy to begin with. Even back during Halo 1, there were people calling the Magnum balanced. I dropped the game, I dropped the franchise. The Xbone was announced with all their online only bullshit, so I didn't even buy one. I switched to PS4. Specifically to buy Bloodborne, although that game did end up disappointing me. The Halo community kicked me off the Xbox because I wasn't a huge, massive piece of shit. Halo 5 came out and I laughed at the whole thing. The Master Chief Collection came out and I was flabbergasted at what happened. There's a chance this video might find someone who has a recording or tale of myself being toxic. Yeah, I have been toxic, Funny enough, I'm actually a very competitive person, but it's usually in response to someone else being toxic. Once in Overwatch, I start a match and a couple of top shit KD players demanded I play support because when they're getting healed, they'll stomp the competition, no contest. See, the problem with Overwatch is that the game was designed like soccer, in which everybody has to work together as a team in order to win, but the majority of players treat it like they're the star quarterback in rugby, in which they believe the game would be won if everybody gave them the ball. So I'm healing them in the first round where they can't get any kills or even do any damage. We easily lose the first round without ever contesting the point, while getting yelled at by the DPS for costing them the match. Out of annoyance, I switched to Soldier, prompting them to scream at me for throwing the match, telling me that we're gonna lose because I'm not healing them. When round 2 begins, I sprint forward and immediately get 3 kills while they're screaming at me. I growled to them on my mic. I switched to DPS and immediately got 3 kills. Get on the fucking point! They continue screaming and arguing with me that they're actually the best players and I'm costing them the match because we only have Lucio for support. We destroyed the enemy team in round 2 and round 3, most of the work done by me while yelling at them. I then collect myself and apologize to the Lucio player for the outburst and telling him he did a good job on support, prompting him to laugh and say we actually started doing better once I started yelling. Or when people are being stupid, like that one time in Overwatch when the enemy team had Zarya, Mei and Symmetra, and my teammates demanded I perfectly countered them all by switching to D.Va. There are more examples, but usually it's built up anger in response to toxicity. I don't begin at that level. Besides, if I start showing Overwatch stories, I'll be here for another 40 hours. My story doesn't end there though, still more going on, mainly with Australian packs. There were still Halo tournaments going on with the community. I remember one for Halo 4 I think, that ran all day for each day. You could win something, I think it was headphones. I got into the top 16 and was in an 8 free-for-all. Top 2 goes into the finals or semi-finals, I forget the details. A guy next to me pointed out how I was a really good player and that if we worked together, we could easily dominate the competition until the finals. Are you fucking serious? This is a gaming convention. We're all here to have fun, get along and make memories, not game the competition for cheap prizes. Didn't you get enough of that shit from Halo 3? So I declined. During the match I was in the lead, while I could tell this guy was getting noticeably angry. As the match was nearing its end, he slammed the headphones and controller onto the display desk, then stormed off before it finished. Yep, that's a professional player alright. I moved on but lost in the end though. The prize wasn't my reward, this memory was. Aside from that, I usually spent my time in the tournament area for Halo, hanging out and talking to people, getting along with the organisers that they actually recognise me every year. Whenever they've tried to run Halo 4, Halo 5 and eventually Halo 6, they always implode on themselves. Tournaments have been cancelled because they couldn't get the games to work. They go to great lengths to create new profiles and buy those games for like 16 different Xboxes and they can never get them running right, because of always online BS. You know what game always worked? You know what game they can always plug in on 16 different Xboxes and always have a running tournament with no issues? Halo Reach, the black sheep of the franchise. Which is odd because so many people play in these tournaments and have a great time. You want to know how much fun Halo still is? During one of the tournaments I got to the finals. 1v1, first to 10 kills, no time limit, Asylum. Wait, hang on, what? Is this the original Asylum? Because the original Asylum map doesn't have kill boxes on top of the buildings. You don't know? Just do it? Okay. I select Jetpack, grab a sniper rifle, shoot him when he grabbed the sniper rifle, grabbed his ammo and flew up on top of the map. I then declared myself the winner. I brought them over and explained that there was no kill box and no way to get up there. It would be almost impossible for him to kill me, not unless on death he selects the jetpack and flies up, but I would most likely shoot him and the match wouldn't be fair. Hey everyone, guess what? Turns out it's really fucking easy to be a good sport. I know I'm the outlier here. I was really good at Titanfall 2, like sniping, ejecting pilots with Scorch's main weapon good.
I hired the right pilot, that's for sure. Taken out.
Titan down. Titan eliminated. Enemy pilot has ejected. Hostile pilot contained and destroyed. Enemy pilot has ejected. Warning, enemy pilot attacking. Mission saved. Enemy pilot attacking the target.
I don't think that team knows who they're messing with.
Flame cores ready. Enemy pilot eliminated. Enemy Titan destroyed.
I don't think that's...
Friendly Titan attacking the target. Enemy pilot has ejected. Warning. Friendly pilot attacking the target. Enemy pilot has ejected.
That pilot doesn't stand it. What a sharpshooter. You are dominating.
When it was blatantly obvious we were going to win, I would just stop shooting the pilots and focus on the AI. No point in stomping on their fun. I would even send apology messages. Like, a lot. So we ended that match and made a new game. 1v1, first to 10 kills, sword base. Wait, what, hang on, is this the original sword base? Oh, fuck it. This was one of the greatest matches I have ever had. Each fight was so close. We kept alternating between the lead. Even though it was first to 10, this match took us 30 minutes. We drew crowds, big crowds, like 20 to 30 people started lining up behind me to watch the match, and 20 to 30 people were lining up behind him. There was a lot of cheering, gasping, call-outs. At one point I noticed he was approaching me from behind, so I aimed down and used my hologram while I ran forward. He turned the corner and started firing my hologram, at which point I flanked and killed him. Someone in the crowd actually said, "Wow, never thought of using hologram like that." It was neck and neck, a lot of back and forth. I take the lead, he take the lead, I take the lead, he take the lead. Score was 9-9. The crowd was getting fired up. The final duel started. I died. Half the crowd cheered, half the crowd moaned. Oh well, can't win them all. I'm taking home something more valuable, this memory. Everybody had a smile on their face as we all talked about our moves in the game. I went to the last Reach tournament on Sunday, which was more partyish time game types to try and settle everyone with goofy fun for the last day. I made it to the semi-finals and lost, oh well. The same guy I fought yesterday in the finals made it to the finals again. His opponent was some KD only super professional, Halo is serious business, yada yada. When discussing what the final game type should be, he only demanded MLG settings on Zealot. He refused anything else. 1v1, first to 10, MLG settings, the game ended in 3 minutes. There was no crowd, he took his medal and quickly walked off, leaving just us and the organisers. There wasn't really anything to talk about. None of us had any energy, we were just done. Is that it? Is that what Halo is now? Just no energy? Expelled air? Hey, did you hear about the new Halo game? Halo 6 came out and calling it infinite is stupid, especially when Halo 1 to Reach were all infinite and you didn't do anything with it. I kinda ignored it, but then people all over the internet were praising it. Reviewers were giving it high praise. Wait, what? Why? Why would it be good after all this? They were saying Halo was back, it started to get to me. So I went and bought an Xbox Series S, I wasn't really planning on doing that. I downloaded Halo 6 because I got the campaign and multiplayer for free. I played the multiplayer. What the hell are you all talking about? This game is fucking shit. Then I played the campaign. Holy shit, this is bad. I didn't even know it was open world and it made the game worse. It's all so boring. What the hell happened to this franchise? I then downloaded the Master Chief Collection because I really needed a palate cleanser, and holy shit, I forgot how much I enjoyed these games. I'm actually having fun. I don't even care about the changes I dislike in Halo 2 and 3, at least I'm doing something interesting. Not the new graphics though, those suck. They can't even get the Phantom to fly forward. Fuck, I remember how much I loved this franchise. Multiplayer is still shit though. Apparently there was no new patches to any of the games in the entire franchise. Not counting patches to make them work. The players are still shitheads. I only played a little, but I still got some guy offering professional tutoring in Halo 3 for $50 an hour. For a 2007 re-release game in a dead franchise. Are you for real? I can't even enjoy Halo Reach because the title update patch is now the default. MCC does have local server options, but 343 really likes to remind me how much they don't like me limiting my matchmaking to Australia's one server. There is custom games browser, so the real infinite of Halo can exist with new game types and maps and such. Whatever, I'll test out some fun game types in custom game. What could I lose? I took some inspiration from hardcore mode in Call of Duty, so I made a game type in Halo Reach where the only changes I made are that your weapon damage is 150% from normal, and you only start with 1 frag grenade, down from 2 frag grenades. Players are having fun, but then this guy jumped in who would not fucking stop complaining. All he did was scream and whine that I'm cheating, because he's a cool, high KD spawn camping MLG player and it's impossible for me to beat him. Even though I very clearly explained the rules to him, he would not stop complaining. At one point I have a plasma repeater and he charges at me from across the map with the plasma sword. I fire at him while backing away and he dies. He screams, stomps, shouting that it's impossible for someone with a plasma repeater to kill someone charging at them with a plasma sword from long range. I even let him win a match to show it wasn't cheating. All he did was complain that I was obviously still cheating. Because you can't call yourself a professional gamer unless you're blaming everybody else. What's funny about me complaining about pro gamers is that I'm a very competitive gamer myself. I'm not really interested in party game types or games. I like challenging other players in a well-designed game. I just don't like whatever FPS pro gamers are. You might even be asking me, if I'm such a competitive gamer, why am I so against them? Aren't I being too mean to them? Good question, the answer is no. There's been a few videos uploaded in games like Call of Duty or Halo 6 showing players wall running or sliding. You would think that the way they love to use these that they would absolutely love to play Titanfall. But Titanfall didn't get the recognition it deserved and died off, so what happened? Honestly, I think they didn't approve of Titanfall because it was designed with wall running in mind. You can't beat the campaign without learning it, so everybody in multiplayer has at least the basics. Which is the problem. If everybody knows how to play the game, they're a threat to these pro players. They don't want a fair fight. They'll allow stuff like wall running, but only if they're the ones doing it. They're probably also heavily against Titans, because even someone playing their very first match online can accidentally get a kill. It's like an addiction. It's also why I don't call them gamers. If pro players cared about the game and not the kills, they would be playing Splitgate, which is literally a MLG Pro designed game by MLG Pro players for MLG Pro players. It's free to play as well, so why aren't they pushing it? It's literally what they want. Because frankly, everyone can use portals and use their portals against them. It's not an unfair advantage and there's no casual audience they can abuse. I heard a tale around CSGO where Valve decided to hire pro gamers to playtest. Even though playtesting is an entirely different set of skills. They tested the game and major glitches were reported, but the amount of reported glitches they received was far less than their original testers. CSGO tournaments came up and these gamers were suddenly shooting through glitches and getting unfair advantages. How can this be? Well, It turned out they were keeping glitches to themselves to exploit later in tournaments. Apparently, it didn't occur to Valve to think that maybe they were self-interested and had ulterior motives. Just think about that for a second. There are groups that are trying to get video games classified as legit Olympic sports, and you have guys just walking in with cheats because who fucking cares? That's not even going into drug usage, Smurf accounts, or sexual assault allegations. And we're the ones who are supposed to be treating them with respect. Here's a story. There were a couple of good Transformer games, which also had good connection search options. Because of licensing issues, they're no longer sold and their multiplayer servers have been closed. A small group of modders have managed to revive them, patch them, and run their own online servers out of their own pocket. But there were a couple of assholes who were really pissed off that the game didn't run the way they wanted. In anger, they spent thousands of bucks to DDoS the servers and gave the modders demands to patch the game the way they want and to pay them to stop the DDoS. Because these guys couldn't get what they wanted, they tried to destroy these games that were only alive because of the community. If they can't get what they want, nobody can. And then there's what happened to Titanfall. This story is pretty infamous, with the pro player Forsaken. His team was doing well until the organisers wanted to look at his computer and then disqualified him. Turned out that he plugged in a USB stick with hacks to give his team an advantage. This happens all the time, because it's just a video game, who fucking cares? If you've played any game in the Gears of War franchise, then you would know in Versus multiplayer that everybody only does two things. Either run at you with the Nasher and one-shot you, or abuse active reload buff to snipe you with it. When the third game came out, they added in the double-barreled shotgun that one-shots you at melee range. So many players started whining and complaining. I run at the enemy to one-shot them with the Nasher, and they one-shot me with a shotgun. So unbalanced, so unfair, so not pro. Irony. Okay, yeah, I hated that gun too, but it was funny watching people crying over something they did to other players prior. It was so schadenfreude. They wanted that shotgun to be map pickup only, which does sound good. The flamethrower is map pickup only, and that's pretty much in the same category as shotguns. Why wasn't that part of your close range loadout? If it's going to be map pickup only, maybe we should be consistent and make the Nasher map pickup only. Well, no, because the Nasher is pro. Gears of War 3 also sometimes like to try new game types. One game type with just standard versus mode, but you didn't spawn in with either shotgun. Why wasn't this the default? So many players got too used to rushing with the Nasher that they couldn't do anything without it. When I played this game type, nobody could ever touch me. They didn't have that precious Nasher to use as a crutch, and they couldn't kill me. In fact, in all my time playing this game mode, I only ever recall dying once, to someone sneaking up on me with a chainsaw. I would always win, and the reason was pretty simple. Because I learned how to actually play the fucking game. It's not just shooters, it happens in all types of games. In Supreme Commander 2, you're supposed to build extractors to gain resources. They're not cheap, so it's a balance on whether to expand or not. Early on, players found out a glitch that dismantling units or buildings is the same rate as repairing or building them, which doesn't cost anything. So if you dismantle and repair something at the same time, you earn the money it cost. When you multiply this to like 40 engineers repairing and dismantling a building, your resources will skyrocket. This was patched out within a week on PC, but on Xbox 360, yeah I know, lol, strategy game on console, this was never patched, although they did patch the game to allow the map pack purchase. This was abused heavily. Once I called someone out for it and he responded by stating that it was actually a secret pro technique installed by the developers for the real pro players to use to make faster and more interesting matches, even though it was patched out on PC. I made a friend from the game, and once by coincidence we were matched up on the same team in 2v2. The game was fine at first, but then I noticed he was doing this glitch to get an advantage. so I sent my commander over to his base to finish repairing the building to get him to stop doing it. His response was to immediately quit the match and remove me from his friends list for not putting up with cheating. As for the 1v2 match, I ended up beating both opponents by myself, because, unlike him, I learned how to play the game. I was once against an opponent that I could easily tell was going to rush for nukes. If you rush nukes, you can launch one at around the 4 or 5 minute mark, and it's usually effective because their base is too small to recover from a nuke attack. He launched his nuke, and when it reached my base, my anti-nuke shot it down. This didn't deter him. He built more nukes and soon launched 10 nukes towards my base. I watched as 10 anti-nukes flew up and counted them. He wouldn't stand for this. He kept building more and more nuke silos. He launched 50 nukes towards my base, with the nuke warning constantly repeating itself. As a line of nuke icons flew towards my base, I zoomed out and watched with a smile as I saw 50 anti-nukes disable them all. What happened then? After a brief pause of nothing, he quit and I won the game. He didn't even fucking try to play the game. He just wanted easy wins. When he can't get an easy win, he takes his nukes and goes home. Fucking loser. It's not even just in video games. I like to play tabletop miniature war games, War Machine specifically. I've also had some problems with people in that community. I've almost quit 7 times. Once during a tournament, a guy did something unexpected with a move and beat me in a match. I found that suspicious, and while he was quickly packing up, I looked over his model's rules until I found out that he couldn't do that move at all. He replied by saying that he was going to beat me next turn regardless. Some people just think that they're so good that they just deserve to automatically win regardless. Here's a story from another member of the community. In tournament, you take 2, sometimes 3 army lists. She matches up against this guy and decides to use her army that had a large amount of cavalry. This guy didn't want her to use that list because he didn't know how cavalry rules worked. Which makes sense. Cavalry had their own complicated rules, and buying a full unit usually costs more than a new video game. But to deny someone playing the game the way they want because you don't know how to beat them sounds very professional. Toxicity was also in this community, particularly about one player. This guy would stretch out the rules during his turn, but would follow it to the letter during your turn. When he was losing, he'd throw massive tantrums. When he wins, it was pure skill. Most people just stopped playing because they just didn't want the chance to play against him. Guitar Hero died off, but still has a devoted community. One of the best players is Shmooey, but he couldn't accept the fact that he wasn't as good as he thinks he is. So he cheated in his videos to hold down the claim. Even though everybody in the community respected him before he was found out, the idea that someone else could come along and beat him was too much. He had to stay on top, even if he had to cheat to do it. There was this moment where a bunch of Call of Duty players were whining about the matchmaking. It was matching them up with people of equal skill. They said they only wanted to be matched up against new players so that they could stomp all over them to make popular highlight reels. They just straight up admitted to this. They just want to spawn camp noobs in the hopes they'll get more viewers and by extension more donations. Because the idea of returning to a 9-to-5 job to pay the rent scares the shit out of them. What talent and experiences do they actually have? Fucking hell, even this arsehole couldn't accept the fact that he might not be the best Donkey Kong player. I haven't even gone into betrayals. If you've played Halo multiplayer long enough, you'll most likely definitely have examples of people killing you to grab the power weapon you just picked up. Or just meleeing you once to drop your shields, in the hopes a stray enemy bullet will pop your head so that they can grab the power weapon. Or just sit in front of them in the hopes you kill them so that they can boot you. The obvious solution is to remove team killing, but then assholes will just grab the enemy flag and hold it to prevent your team from winning. Fuck, I miss vote kicking. Then again, vote kicking was also abused. Anything and everything can and will be used against you by a court of assholes. See, they don't really see an issue with cheating the game or even themselves. They don't want to grow, they don't want to improve. They just want a shortcut even if they gain nothing. unaware it's a hollow victory because they don't risk anything. Kinda sad. It's why I have at least some respect for fighting games. The pro players there actually notice how toxic players will ruin the community and worked at eliminating them. They don't whine or complain about something when it doesn't go their way. They're actually more honourable, yeah, laugh at that word, and will actually try and recreate the match up until the point that someone's controller died during a competition. They kinda got the idea that being total shitheads isn't healthy for the community, which is why they send all their worst players to go play Super Smash Bros. Melee. In fact, that should be their threat. When someone overreacts to a match, they should warn them that if they don't apologise and start behaving, they'll be sent to the Melee mines of Smash Bros. Every now and then I hear something about Halo after I left. Like in Halo 4, they decided to buff automatic rifles so that they would actually be useful for once. But this had the side effect of buffing the Saw power weapon, causing a lot of people to whine and cry that the power weapon is now too OP. Sniper rifles being able to one-shot anybody from any range, totally balanced. Needing to shoot someone several times from mid-range, broken. Then there's the Mangler in Halo 6 pissing people off because it can kill you in 3 shots, causing a bunch of whining. What's funny is that 343 could easily make these same players love the weapon. All they have to do is change the name and update the weapon skin to the Halo 1 Magnum. The Mangler killing in 3 shots? Broken. The Magnum killing in 3 shots? Pure skill. Sometimes I even learn of something from the story or lore that makes me glad I dropped it. Did you know that when the Forerunners were ruling the galaxy that humanity was waging war on them? Yeah, we were already flying through space and blowing up planets. The Forerunners then shot all humans with a ray gun that turned them into apes and dropped them all on Earth. Then for some reason gave them the keys to Halo before they activated them. Fucking hell, why aren't more people mocking this story? Against my better judgment, I decided to try and dip a toe back into the community. At this point it's been like 10 years since I left. Maybe all those bastards left. That's enough time for them to accidentally knock someone up and be forced to get a real job to support their kid. They would be pushing 40 by now, why would they still be causing trouble in Halo? I went to a Halo subreddit page, yeah I know Reddit, there's my problem. I started replying to a couple of people, trying to make conversation. I had only made like 5 comments before one of the admins, one of the moderators replied to my most recent comment with, "There he is!" And this one I can prove. Like, who reads Reddit usernames? When was the last time you read a Reddit username? I'm done. You win. If this is the proper way to be a Halo player, I don't want any part of it. Everything Halo has been since 343 took over, and everything Halo will ever be in the future, is exactly what you want and exactly what you deserve. As for everyone else, as for people like me, who knew what Halo was and had to suffer as it was dismantled and built into something worse over the years, there is still something for you. Mods! Yeah, this is the perfect way to play Halo. The modding scene for Halo is insane. The amount of work people have done are all worth looking into. People are showing you their work instead of bitching about it on the forums. Like my favourite mod, Ruby's Rebalance mod for Halo 1. There's new vehicles, new enemies and weapons. Some campaign levels feel like they're totally new. There's even some levels that can be spoiled because of the changes he made, despite how much I want to show them. He's even added power weapons in earlier locations with no ammo, giving you the decision to carry it around in the hopes of finding the ammo, despite being down one weapon. There's even secrets for you to explore and find, like how you can unlock the Scorpion in the 2nd level. He made some changes to the story and even added in some side quests. In the 2 Betrayals level, the UNSC is in control of the control room, which makes sense. When you disable the 2nd generator, you get a message that they're under attack by the Flood. If you go back to the control room, you have a large standoff against the Flood. If you manage to fight them all off, the humans get airlifted out. As thanks for saving them, during the final stretch of the level, they reward you with a tank. Freaking awesome. He made the library fun. How is that possible? He's like, the only other guy that understands Halo, and he's actually doing something about it. It's like the perfect way to play Halo 1. I've played Halo 1 over 100 times, and this mod made me feel like I was playing it for the first time again. I kinda wish he added health and ammo to the human vehicles, but it's fine. If I were ever to be a director of a video game, he would be the first person I'd hire, and I'd make sure he's paid well. World position doesn't matter. I'd open the first worldwide game studio where you don't have an office and we all work from home. The Mythic mods for Halo 3 and Reach has added so many new weapons, enemies, abilities, and equipment. The balance is fucked though. Even on Legendary, all the new weapons are so overpowered and are now pixel perfect accurate that you won't have any trouble in combat, although your health was dropped by a lot. Why are people so scared of health? It used to be the standard. Fortnite and Battle Royale kinda proves people like it. Mythic is also stuffed with each weapon variant from the entire franchise. So you get like 4 assault rifles, both Reach and Halo 4's DMR, in which the only difference is just one bullet. He also added in the beam rifle to piss you off. There's even an armor ability that just straight up gives you endless overshield at the press of a button. Because Hunter's arms can now be blown off, a single grenade makes them no danger. He has added secrets like a blaster from Star Wars. There's fun here if you don't mind the easy difficulty and a worse looking HUD. Or the night vision that makes all enemies glow. It's fine, give it a go. I can critique a lot about the Mythic mods, but regardless, I still do think they're worth playing. There's also the Ultimate Firefight Sand Trap that adds a whole bunch of new stuff, including boss fights like the Gravemind. Halo 4 Reflow mod makes changes to the art style and weapons. This makes the game... okay, the game is still shit, but at least this mod makes the gameplay way more bearable. There's a little bit more variety with the weapons, and armor abilities are actually useful now. The Promethean grenades are actually useful. Even remove those stupid fucking hit markers. Plus, the lighting and art style has been changed so that the enemies actually now pop out more. The Mantis is still overpowered though. Seriously, check out Halo mods. I know how intimidating mods are, but it's easy. Nexus Mods even has a program where all you need to do is select where your Halo files are located, then download the mods and just turn them on. It's super simple, there's tutorials for it. Enjoy Halo for what it truly is. Let those arseholes be miserable in their games. Have fun, become happy, you owe it to yourself, you deserve it. If you've been through the same shit I have, then the modding scene can rekindle your love for Halo. So go do it, go play Halo. Your PC can run them, it's fine. A lot of the mods crash, but they're working on them, it's fine. Just go have fun. One tranquil memory I have is Halo on a TV screen during an all-night LAN, looking out the window to see the sunrise, witnessing for the first time morning dew. It's a nice thought.